Rev up your engines. All right, here we have an $800 pickup truck. It's called the Datsun 620. It's got 110 horsepower, overhead cam, carbureted engine. It's not that small of an engine. Simple in those days. There's the mechanical fuel pump, not in the gas tank. There's the fuel filter, easy to get to. There's the carburetor. And there's something you don't see anymore. Metal radiators, and it's still working. But why is it called Datsun and not Nissan? Because they decided to change their name. Now, the name Datsun was the original name of the company. It was from a company that was originally named DAT, D-A-T. But in 1934, they changed the name Datsun, D-A-T-S-O-N, because sun means lost in Japanese, so they didn't want to have that in the name. So then they changed the name to Datsun, S-U-N, to honor the rising sun. But then they later changed the name to Nissan, which basically means country and production. So basically it's saying made in Japan. I guess they wanted to tell the rest of the world there. I personally like Datsun better, but Nissan, you know. And anyways, now they're all merged. And as far as I'm concerned, their quality has been going down, especially since 2000, when the French company Renault took over. 44-plus-year-old truck is still running fine. And as you can see inside, it doesn't have all that fancy baloney. You gotta step on the clutch to start it. All you gotta do is have it neutral, turn the key. Start right up. Now, sure, it's an old truck and it needs some exhaust work, but here in Tennessee, people don't care about that. Just listen to that 110 horsepower. And is it smoking out the back? No, it just makes a lot of noise. Now, this is a real man's truck. No power steering. You gotta turn this baby with both hands. And at one time, as you can see inside, it was orange. Now it has a regal gold from a spray paint can color. Most of it's one color. Flat block. Old school. You can't beat that. Nothing to go wrong. For the whole $800, it also came with a camper top. You see, this thing's been used, but look at that bed. It's got a nice long bed for carrying stuff. Now, I don't think you can tow that much with this little bitty 110 horsepower engine, but you can tow little things. Now, the brakes have a problem, which we're going to address. They have a tendency going all the way to the floor. There it goes, all the way to the floor. So let's jack it up and check for leaks at the wheels first. First, you check the calipers, see if they're leaking. Let's look in here. Wow, this thing is so old, it's even got drum brakes in the front. But the bottom's not leaking, so this one's dry. These things had four-wheel drum brakes. And we look inside here. That one's dry too. That drum's dry. We do have a little bit of oil dripping down. That's typical on these things of this age. But what I can see is, man, it looks like the valve cover gasket's leaking. It probably needs a new oil pressure sending unit. That's peanut money. This has nothing to do with the brakes not working, so let's check the back ones. So let's check the right rear. As you can see, it's dry on the bottom, so it's not leaking there. And we'll swivel over to the other side. It's dry, and you can see recently someone's put a wheel cylinder here, because that's new and shiny, so somebody's replaced that. Check how you can check a master cylinder. I think it's the master cylinder that's bad. We look inside here, there's still fluid in here, and there's still some fluid in here. Then we'll go inside the truck, and what we'll do is we'll pump the brakes as hard as we can to get a little pressure. There's a little pressure now. Then we'll get my giant long screwdriver and hold it in place. There are the other ones here, and I got a block of wood against the seat, because the seat's so old it's hard to move. That keeps it pushed down. Then we'll get one of these flared bleeder wrenches. This is 10mm. First we'll do the front one and see if anything comes squirting out. Okay, it's squirting out pretty good. Then we'll go back inside and pump it a few more times and wedge it back against the chair. And now we'll check the front one. I got two sets. There's the 10. Nothing's coming out. So that shows that the brake master cylinder shot. It's usually that back one that goes because the main seal's there. And what the fluid does is inside the booster. When you take that off, you find a whole bunch of fluid inside. Called the local AutoZone. That's 1.1 miles away. And needless to say, they didn't have one in stock. But they could sell me a brand new one for $55. And it'll be here tomorrow by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So see, you can still get parts for these things. You don't have to worry about that. Let's take it for a ride. A relatively slow ride as the brakes don't work too good. I just realized these trucks were very discount trucks. No power steering, no anything. You can tell by hearing the hood close. Got a little tinny sound to it, but what the heck. It closes. And this one has a special armrest. The trucker's armrest somebody bolted on. Hey, the emergency brake still works. Take that off. Well, that's how we'll turn the key. And away we go. Let's give it some gas here. It's still got a little power left. Notice it's not backfiring or anything. It's a solid engine. And these 4-speed trannies basically last forever. Yeah, the steering's a little sloppy. This has got reciprocal ball steering, so it's kind of old-fashioned and it's worn. It does have at least 193, if not 293,000 miles on it. So it needs a brake master cylinder, a little bit of oil leaks, but hey, it's still a solid truck and be a very reliable little work truck for somebody. With that long bed, you can put an awful lot of crap in that thing. So the next time somebody offers you one of these old Datsun pickup trucks from the 1970s, don't poo-poo it until you've tried it out. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Grace says, should I get a certified pre-owned Toyota versus a regular used Toyota? Certified pre-owned is a lot of BS. It's just a way for the dealers to charge more money for their cars. Everyone that I've ever met at the used car lot, the new car mechanics are not allowed to work or check out the cars for the used car lot because they're too busy making money for the actual dealership that sells new cars and maintains them. You go to the used car lot, the quality of the guys there is often, some of the used car lots don't even have their own mechanics. They just farm it out to guys, whoever can do it the cheapest. They pay them to fix it because they want to put as little money as possible in and sell them. Where with the new cars, they're new cars. They're warranted by the manufacturer, so they don't have problems with that kind of stuff. Just get a regular used car. And truthfully, don't even go to a dealer to buy a used car. The prices are too high. Try to go individual like I do. I always buy my cars from private individuals. Bank says, I got an 08 Buick Enclave. It rattles on cold start. No sound is coming from the passenger side close to the timing chains. What could be causing this noise? What you want to do first is have somebody else start it and get any kind of listening devices, headphones, even a screwdriver, put it on the front where the timing chain is. Sound can be hard to tell. If you can hear it rattling there, timing chain is a more common thing. But got 119,000 miles. Sounds like it could be. The lifters are somewhat worn. Now, it costs a fortune to replace, so that you just live with it. As long as it only does it a few seconds and then goes away, only on startup. Lifters are worn. You can live with that. It isn't really going to hurt anything. Chris says, I just installed a new engine on my 07 Honda Civic EX. I bought a JDM R18A1 1.8 liter engine for my 07 EX Civic. I still use the old transmission, which is about 260,000 miles. I put 10,000 miles and it works pretty good. Do you think it was a good idea for me putting a new engine in? You got 260,000 miles on an old transmission. You say it downshifts okay, accelerates good, just baby it and see what happens. Eventually it's going to wear out. It's an automatic transmission. They do wear out. If it was a standard transmission, you wouldn't have any worries at all because Honda makes bulletproof standard transmissions. But just baby it. And if it eventually goes out, get one of those Japanese used automatic transmissions from Japan and install it on it. It can last a really long time because most of those only have 20, 30,000 miles on it. But as long as it shifts okay, just keep baby it. Don't race and drive around like a maniac because if you do, of course, you're going to wear the 260,000 mile transmission out. Scott Girding says, how often should I change tranny fluid in a 2012 Camry SE 2.5 liter 4-cylinder? I'm a fanatic about that stuff myself, and it's a Toyota. I would change it every 40 or 50,000 miles. Learn how to do it yourself. It's not rocket science. You can watch my videos, show you drain it out. Whatever comes out, you measure it in quart jugs, pump the same amount back in, and away you go. Do it yourself. Don't trust anybody. My old photographer at CBS, when I did Crank It Up with Scotty on CBS, he one time went to a place and they changed the fluid in his Camry. They didn't do it right, and the tranny blew up a year and a half later. Do it yourself. Make sure it's done right. Omar 804 says, Scotty, how do you rust-proof your car? I moved from Virginia to Syracuse, so I see a lot of rusty cars. Hell, buy a good car in the first place. My mother had a 2007 Toyota Corolla in Buffalo. A lot of winter, a lot of salt on the road. It didn't rust at all because Toyota made them right. They have zinc electrostatic primer when they build the things. It goes in a bath, goes inside the frame. They didn't rust. Buy the right one. Now, unfortunately, if you're in Syracuse in the winter, you're driving with a lot of salt on the road. It's on everything, right? You want to rinse it off, but you're in Syracuse where it's freezing cold. Find a guy with a heated garage. Every once in a while, at least once a week, have it rinsed off. Because if you let it sit there, it's just going to rot through. All the coatings in the world won't help a badly made car because the coatings will come off. They have to be built right in the first place. And if you got one that's already rusty, you put the rust proofing on top of the rust, it just seals it in, it'll still rust. You can't stop it. I had an 81 Corolla, it rusted like mad, but my mother's 2007 Corolla didn't rust at all. The technology went way past what the Americans are building, and they don't rust if you buy the right vehicle. Brady Sanchez says, how can I remove a stubborn harmonic bouncer bolt in my 03 Tiburon? I spent 8 hours trying to get it off. I had a holding tool. I cannot get the crankshaft bolt off. The bolt won't move in either direction with massive force, even when the pulley was held still. I even broke an impact drill because it wouldn't move. Here's what you do. I've been doing it for years. Get a torch. Heat that bolt up red hot. Once it gets red hot metal is very slippery. You don't want to touch it. But then you put your socket and pull it, hold the pulley with a pulley holder. It'll come off. That's how I always get them off. Heat and metal. When the metal gets red hot, it is slippery, and then it will come right off. Believe me, I've been doing it for years. Heat it up. But you got to heat it until it starts glowing red. Then you know it is so hot, it's going to come out of that hole. Realize it's the threads inside that got to get hot. So you got to get the head super hot. It's not like the nut is sticking out and you heat up the nut. The thread goes deep inside. So you got to heat it up till the whole thing glows red, then get it off. It will come off then. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.